curriculum and the scheme of work that they're doing, so that we can map out something that matches their exact style of teaching and implement it in the classroom. So we have gone ahead with generic content at first, but now we're getting to the stage where it's specifically customized for a Nigerian classroom, and that's going to be really exciting for us.
So from what you're saying, there's a learning process here. No template, nothing. Everyone is learning. The teacher is
Everybody's learning because, and I think that's the exciting thing about virtual reality. It's an emerging technology, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. So there is no hard and fast rule about how you do it for education. And what we learn here might just be applicable across the global south, for example. So we're very, very excited to be in the process with the school.
Thank you. That's really amazing. Imole, thank you for joining us up here. You founded the company Pass.ng, and I don't know if you've tweaked that model, but I know that the core for Pass.ng basically is assessment. Am I right? Now, the question that's coming to my mind is, how should teachers teach in a way that they can best assess their performance? While Mo was taking her presentation, she asked a question that, can we say if the student has not learned after the teacher has taught, should we say the teacher has actually done anything?
Yes. One of the things that we are looking to achieve with 21st century a teacher and 21st century of the future is to not just teach, but to get proper feedback from these students to know whether they've actually been impacted by this knowledge that we are giving. And there are two ways of actually making sure that students are actually being taught. It's either it's a student-centric kind of teaching, or it's a tutor-led teaching. And we are already used to the tutor-led teaching, where the tutor is the overall authority in the class. He has all the knowledge, and everybody else are just assumed to be blanks. And then you have to just listen, and then soak in all the knowledge as the teacher gives. But the other one is student-centric, which is the tutor assumes the role of a facilitator. So he only gives troubles for the tutor for the students to work on. And so those the second option, which is the student-centered approach to learning, is the best. And one of the things about it, the highlights about it, is that the tutor doesn't have to wait till the end of, say, the session or the term to know whether a student actually understands what he or she has been taught. Yes, what we have right now in Nigeria is mostly the first one, which is the tutor-led approach to teaching, which is that we have to wait till the end of the term. For the student-led, student-centered approach, one of the things that we have is that at each milestone, the tutor gets a feedback almost in real time on how a student is faring, or how much of a knowledge the student is getting. And so if there is a particular, just like what the VC mentioned, that in his class, if he comes to class, one of the first things is to ensure that every of the students are not sitting the way they are supposed to sit, which is, the tutor stands and then you can just, listen. He ensures that there's a collaborative environment where all the students are broken into units. That way, there's a problem on ground, and the students probably they are not even meant to have a prior knowledge of that problem, right? But the problem is given. And so together, with tutor very much involved, all of the students can find a solution to the problem, and that way they can learn better. And also, at every junction, when they have issues with the problem, the tutor can come in and say, this is the way to do it. I remember one of the things that used to happen to us when we were in school, although this is one of those things that we're talking about. Well, if we are preparing for an exam, and I have a group of my friends that we are discussing about this particular exam, and someone says, oh, what is the metrics for this and that, and I couldn't remember. And the person says, see, I'm not going to tell you. Just take your time to try and remember it. I'm trying to remember. And then the person says yes, and says, okay, you know what? I'm going to help you out. It is X. Immediately it says that, it becomes a part of your brain. And some of those things that someone says in those kind of circles, for me, I say things that I remember till now, because I've had to deploy my brain in getting the answer to it. Even though I might not even get it eventually, someone swooped in to help me. But that particular thing, I would not forget. It will be a part of my learning process. So I'm thinking that the best way to ensure that assessments are done is to do it in a way that you can get feedback on the instant. And that would mean that it will not be the regular teacher is standing and teaching and then everybody is listening, but a collaborative kind of learning. Yes.
Thank you very much, Imole. Before I call Sheyi, because I'm coming to you next, I just want to pick your brain a bit from what you said. The goal basically is learning. So if we are assessing, even assessing is to see, okay, how much does the student know, and maybe how much have we offered as teachers. So I want to ask, how can we assess in a way that the student also learns from the assessment process? For instance, a teacher might set questions to either pass or fail a student. But I think it's also possible to set questions in a way that students can have clues to the answer and learn, even though it's an examination. I don't know if you get my question.
Yes. One of those things is the way we ask questions are also very important. Mm-hmm. Open-ended questions are ways of making people think. When they think, you would suddenly realize that you might not get the exact answer as a student, but you would have to be forced to cite real-life examples. You'll be forced to cite things that are closer to what is expected of you. That is why the yes or no answers or the multiple choice answers might not totally mean that the students actually learned. Open-ended questions would bring more innovative way of answering things that the tutor might be able to see how much a student's actually learned. So open-ended questions, well-designed questions in such a way that it's not just ending or terminating at a yes or a no or a hey or a B or a C, are very good ways to actually know that a student actually learned from a particular thing. And also having real-life experiences, usually of teaching or in the course of a collaborative learning, also that is related to what they are trying to learn, also helps in this case. So that when a student is actually really having to answer these questions, they can relate it to something that is very tangible. One of the problems that we have in Nigeria is that most of the things that we learn in school, we still cannot find practical examples of it, though they exist. But the person who taught us probably doesn't connect the dots, right? And say, oh, if you are doing crystallization in chemistry, this crystallization actually happens every day in your mommy's kitchen, right? Like it happens every day in your mom's kitchen. If you check this, and this is an example, and then if you ask that same person what is crystallization in exam, the person is not expected to say, oh, crystallization is the process of this and that and that. Crystallization is what happens when this happens, for instance, right? And so such a person has understood what crystallization is. That such a person, if he's found in a situation where he had to use the theory behind crystallization, he or she can replicate it anywhere in any other situation or any other scenario. That is when the person has actually really learned, right? And that can also form the basis of further learning or further applications for that person, right? So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Imole. Can we just applaud him for that? I'm getting some things from there. So I'm coming to you, Sheyi, and I've been listening to entrepreneurs like Jack Ma, and Jack Ma doesn't see, while he was CEO, he said his own CEO is not the chief executive officer, his own is the chief education officer. For him, he said his core task is to educate his people, knowing that the more you educate the people working for you, that affects the improvement of the organization, which is not far-fetched. That's obvious. Now, you gave us at your intro that you are having a similar model in your organization. And knowing the kind of person that you are, I mean, you studied in Stanford, you did history, and you went to play soccer for a while. Then you started working, and you said, you want to come to Nigeria to cause a couple of changes based on your passion. Now you're an entrepreneur. Looking at your experience now from playing football, coming back here to cause change, being an entrepreneur, how should teachers teach?
So what I've been trying to do is try to find, and people, you know, a lot of people want to be WizKid, right? And they sound like Baba something else, right? So it's when they say, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be anything, when they're working with us, and I know that they're not in this area, you know, is also, like, many people think I'm mean. I tell a very, very bitter truth and try to point them to, hey, this is where your talents really lie. And try to be the best person in this line. And even if it's something you didn't study, you know, ask questions, learn. Google's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So my job now is trying to push people to where I think they're good at, and then encourage them to keep asking questions along that line, because it's through those questions that you get better. It's through those questions that you actually grow. So one, ask good questions, and second is, like, don't be scared to fail. You know, and it was, before I went to Stanford, there was a mystique about Stanford. Once I got there, like, all these people are just like me, right? But the difference, well, I was trying to be the best of the world at football or soccer. The thing is, everybody there is trying to be the best at something, piano or dancing or whatever it is. That was the thing that, like, that makes those type of universities special, is everybody there doesn't want to be average. They either were the best at something before, or they're trying to be the best at something else. And so like this, the School of Leadership is, what we're trying to say is, look, think about who you are. Think about where your strengths lie. And then if you want to be part of this organization, you have to try to want to be the best at something. And hopefully it relates to something that the organization needs. It'll be a good fit. So then how do teachers educate? I think there's a lot of uneducating that we try to do. It's been a very, very poor job. And I'm in a university saying this, so I'm sure a lot of people will be offended. But it's been done extremely poorly. We've had several